I'm gonna unmute the microphone and that will help. Good morning, everybody. How's everybody doing today? Thanks for joining me for the live stream. I hope everyone's doing good on this Thursday. Obviously, it's not our usual time slot, but I figured we'd shake it up a little bit. We'd do something a little bit different so that it's not our usual Sunday spot. But I figured during the week it's always nice to have a live stream because, you know, some people are just not available on Sundays, or their Sundays are reserved for family time, whatever it may be. So, you know, I try and shake it up and give you guys as much leeway to join the live chats as we can. So today's going to be a pretty good show. I have a feeling, I got this gut feeling. It's a beautiful day here in Canada. I hope you guys are all doing well wherever you are. I know that we're still kind of dealing with this COVID thing, but we're slowly getting into the swing of things. So I figured hopefully the anxiety of being cooped up is not as severe for most of you guys. So please give me a thumbs up if you can hear me okay. That's the first thing I want to make sure, that the signal's not too hot or not too low. So if you can do that, that would be great. In the meantime, I'm going to start saying hello to our guests. And I just wanted to mention that the last live event that we had on Addicted to Gear, if you guys caught it, was a lot of fun. I want to again say thank you to my friend Nick in the States, because he joined me for that show. And Nick and I always have no problem talking about gear. We went on and on, way beyond the initial time slot that we wanted to use up. Like that hour time slot stretched out to almost 2 hours. So it's all cool. So good morning, everybody. I'm going to say hi to all the people that are already watching. The Gospel of Mark, nice to see you, dude. How you doing? Thanks for asking the question of the day that I posted. If you guys haven't seen it, it should be at the top of the list. And basically, the question was, if you only have one dirt pedal that you can take with you, which one would it be? And the Gospel of Mark says that for him, it's the Earthquaker Devices speaker cranker, and that's his dirt box of choice. So I don't know that particular one, but he says that it sounds just like a cranked amp. Now, is this like a Marshall tone, or is it a little bit more flexible? Which one is it? But I know that Earthquaker Devices do make some really nice dirt pedals, so I'm gonna have to check that one out. James is in the house. Good morning. Dorothy Collins. Good morning, Dorothy, all the way in Louisiana. How are things in Louisiana? Is it warm over there? Is it humid? Is it hot? What's going on? Paul's in the house also. Just when you thought it was safe. Hi, Tony. Hi, Paul. We got Randy in the house. Hey, Randy. What's up, dude? Yeah, Nick is a cool guy. I reached out to him just because we have a lot of overlaps. We have a lot of things that we sort of do very similarly, but not exactly the same. He has his thing going, and so do I. So I thought it would be pretty cool to have him on my channel. And I think after that, I might make an appearance on his channel. We're not really sure yet when that could happen, but I would love to do that. And I feel that having other guests on the show as well kind of mixes it up a little bit. I'm going to have a special guest joining me this Sunday as well, at their usual time slot at 10 a.m. So if you guys are up on Sunday, don't forget to join me for that one. I think that's going to be pretty cool as well. So as far as dirt boxes, so only one of you has answered that question. So take a couple of seconds just to answer that for me if you have a specific favorite dirt box. And I selected a dirt box for that question because I think the dirt boxes in general are the pedals that most people have more than one of, because we're always looking for that ideal cranked tone. And you know, like often we'll buy one chorus pedal, you know, one EQ pedal or something like that. But if you're like me, you probably have maybe 5 or 6 different dirt pedals, and they all kind of do something a little bit different, right? Some are a little bit more heavy, more distortion-y, some are a little bit more overdrive flavored, others have like more of a fuzz tone to them. So it's good to have a variety. So the Gospel of Mark says that the speaker cranker isn't super high gain, but it can go from like a slight breakup to almost fuzz. Yeah, those are the type of pedals that I like. I like the ones that have a wide sweep and that they kind of sound good in all of those sweeps. I find a lot of dirt pedals have a sweet spot, you know? If you have to crank the volume and the gain to just the right area on the knobs and they sounds good, but anything like above or below that sometimes is very limiting or doesn't sound as good. So when you find one of those pedals, it's really cool. And of course you have a pedal, you often probably have pedals that are they just do one thing well because that's the tone that you're after. So if you're looking for that plexi tone or something like that, then you really don't need anything beyond that sound. But if you're looking for more of an overdrive pedal to complement your pedal board, then it's nice to have something that has a little bit more variation. For me, the one that I find has a lot of variation, it's not on my board right now, and I forgot where I put it. It was around here somewhere. Anyways, it's around here. I gotta dig it up. Is the Plimsoll by Full Tone. What I like about that particular pedal, it's maybe not my all-time favorite, but it's definitely one of the more flexible ones, because it does have a little knob that you can sweep from different types of diodes. So you can have different granularity, different textures to the breakup on that one, which I find is really cool. And yeah, it's probably based on like loosely based anyways on a tube screamer probably, but it does its own thing, and it's quite good. I've had it for a while, and I don't plan on selling that one. And of course, I have a few others. I have the one that I made, which is this, which is still one of my favorites. This one was my favorite for a long time for the brown sound, the Wampler Pinnacle. This is an early one, and it does that brown sound really well. So I like it a lot. But then I built this one. This is Brown Sound in a Box 2. It's a kit. You can buy this on General Guitar Gadget's website. They have a whole bunch of kits that you can build, and he can also build you a kit if you don't want to actually build it for yourself or you don't know how. This one actually knocked this one off my board. The reason why I like this one as opposed to this one is this one sounded more like an amp. It wasn't as, I'm not pristine, but it just had a little bit more rawness to it, which I felt sounded more like an amp. So that one I enjoyed for a long time. And, here's a Plimsoll. There we go. Was in the box, that's why. That guy, the Plimsoll. Really good quality pedal, and this little stage knob that you have here, you can turn and the light will light up depending on which stage you're in. So if you turn to the left or to the right, it actually changes the gain stages, and you have a lot of flexibility with this one. Made in California, good quality pedal. It's a keeper, definitely a keeper. And then of course I have a whole bunch of my cheapy ones, which are like, you know, the Chinese imports that I like to try. These guys from Tone City, Golden Plexi, Bad Horse, good budget pedals, really solidly made. I think that, you know, in terms of quality for like import pedals, these are probably the better ones. Beyond that, I have a whole bunch here just because my desk is so messy, so I can easily share the info with you guys. This one here, hard to see. I think they changed it. This is an early model. This one's a hard to see version of it. I have my notifications turned on. How do we turn off these things? Anyways, let me just mute the sound on my computer here so we're not going to be disrupted. This one is called the Rook. You can see it right there. Whoop, right there. This is from Mojo Hand Effects. A really cool pedal as well. Definitely does its own thing very well, and I've had this for a while. Not as gainy as a lot of other gain pedals that I have, but it's definitely beefy and full. So it really gives you a nice sound. And beyond that, I mean, I have another one here. There's no name on it. This one is actually, excuse me. This one's also a kit that I built, and it's based. This one is kind of not. It's a combination between a fuzz pedal and a distortion pedal. It's how can I explain it to you? It reminds me, there's a specific pedal that I owned at one point that was very boutique-y, pretty expensive. This one's modeled after that one. It's a fuzz pedal. That one was called, I'm trying to remember now, the name escapes me. But it's actually based on that David Gilmour sound. And this one is really the Scruddy pedal, the Lunar Lander. That's what it was called, Scruddy Lunar Lander. That pedal is pretty expensive. It's about $300 or something. This one is basically a clone of that. And I had the original, and I sold it, and I kept this one. So if any of you want to get this pedal, I can put the information to where I got it for you guys. So let's just go back and see what other people enjoy in terms of pedals here. Excuse me. Man, what's going on? I'm being texted. Excuse me. People are calling me today. What the hell's going on? Anyway, people will have to wait for now. You guys come first, obviously. So Dorothy says it's been raining every week. That sucks. And 20 to 30%. Okay, so it's... Well, Dorothy, look on the bright side. At least if the weather's not right, not too great, you're not tempted to go outside. You know, so you can stay safe. Man, sorry, I swallowed crooked. Randy says Jekyll and Hyde. I don't know what that means. Is that a pedal, Randy? I'm not really sure what that means. Okay, these notifications are really starting to bother me now. I wish I knew how to turn these things off. Sometimes, you know, I love my computer, and sometimes it drives me crazy. And lately it's been driving me crazy because the volume's off right now, but I'm still getting the notifications, you know? It's still ringing. Like, I don't understand why that is. So I guess I have to pull up the settings and turn that off somehow on there. I don't know. So I'm going to just say do not disturb between... I guess you have to put in the time. So I guess it's between, I don't know, it's 10 a.m. and I'll just put, let's say 11:30. How's that? Or what? Yeah, let's do that. All right, hopefully that'll work. We'll see. All right. Sorry about that, guys. So James says that he's been using the HX effects. And James, why did you choose that particular one? What did you like about that particular unit? Dorothy says he's got more than 100 and an Ibanez fuzz. So are you a hoarder, Dorothy? Is that the thing? Do you have trouble selling pedals and stuff? I mean, I have a lot of pedals here too, but I try to I have a chopping block list. I don't know if you guys have that. Actually, we'll talk about that in a couple of minutes as well. I have a chopping block list that goes like every day is I add or remove something from the list in terms of guitars, pedals, and amps. And what the logic behind that is that if I'm forced to sell something for whatever reason, if I want to get some new gear, then I definitely want to get rid of something first. My dog's really snoring today. Where is she? Oh, she's under my desk. There she is. I'm gonna have to nudge her a little bit. She's too funny. I think she's just too comfortable down there. So the chopping block list is something that I keep going in my head, and I constantly test things out to compare, you know, to just psychologically prepare myself. We talked about this when Nick was on the show. Oh, and speak of the devil. Hey, Nick, how's it going, man? Thanks for joining. So this psychological chopping block thing is a list that I keep going in my mind because I'm always tempted to buy new gear. I have a couple of things that are kind of on my gas list, and I'm just psychologically setting myself up to part with certain things. And I don't have a reverb page, and people have been trying to convince me to get a reverb page. You say, like, you know, put the stuff on reverb and sell it, and when you're no longer using it or whatever, and since you're promoting the stuff and you're advertising and showing videos, people know that it works, they know who you are, and they probably will feel confident buying from you. The thing is, I don't really like reverb. I don't know if it's just me. I know a lot of people like reverb, but for me, I find that, I don't know, the prices are all out of whack. So for me, I don't know, it's like I wouldn't know how to price my stuff because everything on reverb is so, like, you know, 20 to 30% more expensive. I don't get it. So I prefer to sell locally, and it basically also saves me the fees and all that kind of stuff. But so I have this list going, and and basically the thing I have on my list today, I know you guys, well, let me share it with you guys, and then we'll get back to the pedal question. We might be a little bit all over the place today. I keep going off on tangents, but I keep you on your toes. So the things I have on my get rid of list right now is my Fender Bass Breaker 15 in terms of amps. And don't get me wrong, I mean, I love that amplifier. I think it's great for what it can do. The only reason I'm putting it on my list is because there's overlap between that amp and the other amps that I have, okay? And so it kind of, you know, the Bass Breaker kind of is Marshall's attempt to getting more of that, Fender's attempt to getting more of a Marshall tone out of their amplifiers. And so I already have the Dirty Shirley, and I already have a Plexi Man from Brunetti, which kind of also do that. But I find that the Bass Breaker is a little bit more limiting in terms of the scope of sounds you can get from it. It does its thing very well, but I figured it would be a little bit more challenging to get all of the tones that I need from it. And just the other day I was A/Bing all my amplifiers, trying to see, okay, if I had to get rid of one of them, which one would it be? Definitely not my Dirty Shirley. That one just does that thing so well, I wouldn't get rid of it. It's a keeper. The Brunetti is also very, very flexible. And it's better than a lot of other Plexi clones, just because there's a lot of tonal variations that you can get from it, from like really nice cleans all the way to, you know, overdriven, hot rodded type of Marshall sounds that I love. So that one is really good too, and I don't want to get rid of that one just yet. That doesn't mean I won't ever get rid of it. I may. But right now I have heartburn for the Studio Marshall. And if you guys haven't seen that one already, it's basically a low wattage Plexi. And to me, that's something that I've been kind of gassing for a long time. I was hoping somebody would come out with a good low wattage Plexi sound. Now, although my Brunetti does go down to 5 watts, it's not exactly like that Marshall sound. It's kind of like, how can I put it? It's maybe like a little bit more polished than what a plexi would be. And I've had a plexi before, and I love that sound. The thing that's cool about plexis is you really are able to clean up the sound just with the volume knob. And that's what I really like about it, right? The one I had was a clone, and it was a super well-built clone made by Rocket Retro. Kevin at Rocket Retro, I've mentioned him many times before. I still believe he makes the best Marshall clones at a reasonable price. His clones are entirely handmade, point to point. And I think he charged $1,800, $1,600, $1,800, around there. You can't get a better built Marshall clone than the stuff that he puts together. The only thing is that his clones are 50 watts. And even though I bought mine with an attenuator in the back of it, just too loud. I had to get an off... what was that called? The Weber Mass attenuators, because it just was too loud. But it was a fantastic sounding amplifier. So I was praying that, you know, Marshall would come out with something a little bit more manageable. And when they came out with the Studio series, I really had gas for that one. And I said to myself, if I can get one soon, I'm going to save my pennies and get one. I was hoping to get one on the used market, but they're not easy to come by. There's a few on Reverb, but they're still pretty expensive. So I'm hoping to eventually get a good deal on that. So I figured if I, you know, loosen up the funds and liquidate some of the stuff that I have, then, you know, the thing is, for me, it's just a question of getting the stuff that you're going to enjoy playing. So that's definitely one item that I have on my list for right now. So if any of you are in the market for a really good quality sounding Bass Breaker 15, hit me up. Maybe we can set something up for you and get something going. And then there's something on my pedal list and there's something on my guitar list, but we'll talk about that a little bit later. Let's go back to the questions. I know that you guys are talking about different things while I'm jabbering here, so I don't want to ignore anyone here. So Dorothy likes my coffee cup. Oh, thanks, Dorothy. I got this in Vegas the last time I was in Vegas, Las Vegas. It's actually, yeah, I like the colors too, and what I really like about it, it's so big, so I don't have to refill all the time. So let's see what's going on here. So James says he just wanted to try digital and see if he could give up his analog pedals. I've been through that rodeo so many times, James. I could really sympathize with you. You know what? I mean, there's pros and cons to each one of those setups, and you have the flexibility of a multi-effects unit and you have everything at your disposal, but getting like that true to goodness amp sound from a multi-effects unit is not always easy to do. You have to really spend a lot of time tweaking it, and if you don't have a good setup, it's challenging at times, right? So you have to kind of live with that a little bit, and I've done that a couple of times and switch back and forth from pedals to multi-effects. The thing that I've discovered over time is, you know, nothing beats pedals going into an amp. It's just that the resonance of it is just real. You can feel the girth of the sound. You can feel, you know, the air moving. That's just reality, and the resonance of the guitar's sound when you hit that chord. To get that digitally, you could do it, but it's just the feel is not the same. It's hard to describe. You know, to the person in the audience, they might not really realize the difference, but when you're playing it, you actually do. There's a difference there. There's a tangible difference, and it does affect the way you're playing and just how you approach your playing when you can feel that. You know, you can dig in and really get that, you know, nice, you know, the dynamics of it, you know. But I've gone back and forth a couple of times, and right now, this doesn't mean I'm not going to go back to pedals. I probably will. So Nick says he's not wearing any pants. Nick, come on, man. It's going to be an X-rated show. People are still talking about the incident. Anyways, it's all cool, man. When you're home, you know, pants are optional. That's what I say. Dorothy also says she's got... Dorothy, you have to excuse me. I always refer to you automatically as she, but Dorothy is one of those names like Pat. You don't know if we're referring to a male or a female. I assume you're a male because my demographics are mostly men, but I could be mistaken, and if I am, please correct me. Anyways, Dorothy says that there's 14 guitars in the collection, and they gave a lot away to their nephews and nieces, and that wanted to learn how to play. That's a really noble thing to do, to try and get people started up playing the guitars that you've owned in the past. That's pretty cool. That's one of the cool advantages with you know, giving your guitars away to loved ones or family, is that you know that you're giving them something good quality and something that's not going to hinder them in the way they start up playing, you know. So it's all good. Nick says that reverb is awesome to sell, and I think he buys everything on eBay. You know, when you're in the States, eBay is a good alternate solution, but for me, when I'm in Canada, the duties and the shippings just kill the deal. Unfortunately. Yeah, James says that, and I think he's referring to reverb. I don't like it anymore since they take taxes now. But I just did buy another guitar with them last week. So there you go. So Nick says his last Gibson was $130 in taxes. That kills. I mean, that sucks. You know, if you're buying something new, I understand you got to pay taxes. But when you're buying something used, I mean, how many freaking taxes do we have to pay, man? We're getting it so hard here in Canada, specifically in my province with taxes. It's not even funny. So James says that he just bought a Gibson custom shop last week, and the taxes hurt. Not as good of a deal, no kidding. That's why I like to shop used, man. Used is the way to go. Just buy used. Be patient, guys. There's always deals. So the other thing that I have on my to get rid of list is also one of my Squire Contemporary Strats. I bought 2 of them. I don't know why I did that, because they're identical except for the color. One's white, one's red. But anyways, it was just one of those things. I liked it so much, I decided to buy another one. So I decided I'm probably going to keep the red one, because everyone here says, keep the red. They don't like the white for some reason. And I already have another white road-worn Strat. So I'm going to probably dump the white, keep the red. Great guitar, by the way. And if you guys like to customize, like a customized Strat humbuckers, awesome. Paul says that he loves his third plexi. I have my third plexi with a attenuator. This one stays. You know, like I said, I love plexis too. If you're like 50 watts today is overkill, in my opinion. If you're playing gigs, it's fine. But at home, that's a loud 50 watts, man. I was barely cranking 3, you know? And to get the plexi to have its full-blown plexi sound, you got to crank that thing up. So the Gospel of Mark says that he has a Boss Katana PRS SE, Corina, that he wants to sell and get a PRS 594. Obviously, I'd have to sell more stuff, yeah. Probably, but you're upgrading, right? That's the idea, is to end up with something better at the end of it. Buying and selling is fine, guys. You know, at the end, you just, as long as you're good at it. You know, you're coming out on top. You're not losing your money. You're not giving stuff away because you're too eager. Selling used stuff is the way to do it, man. I came across a lot of good deals that way. So Nick, if you need a plexi lower wattage, man, just go with the new Marshall, the Marshall Studios, man. They're, to me, all the videos that I've seen, killer sound. They do the Marshall thing very well. They have the effects loop, but you can take it out of the circuit if you want to stay like authentic as much as possible. Although it's not really authentic because it's a lower wattage version, but it does sound like it can give you that plexi sound. So I think it's a great alternative. The phase amps that Nick is referring to is a local builder here in Canada. I think he's in Ottawa. I'm not really sure. I think it's Ottawa. And he builds these hand-wired amps of his called phase amps. Pretty affordable amps. And he's got different versions that do different sounds. He's got one that sounds like the Slash Appetite for this... I can't speak this morning. Appetite for this Destruction amp, which is I believe is it a Silver Jubilee? I'm not really sure, but anyways, he's got one like that. He's got another one called a Daisy Cutter. He's got some that sound like that brown sound type of thing. I haven't actually ever tried one in person. I'd love to, but I haven't gotten the opportunity to do that yet. So it's another option for the people that are living in the States, because the Canadian dollar is a real deal right now. So Fat Philosopher keeps on telling me that his live stream notification always comes late. I don't know why that is. I know you mentioned that over and over again. If any of you also see that happening, could you let me know? Because I need to figure out why that's happening. Because I noticed that people jump in on the live streams late. It picks up like after about an hour. So I don't know if that's because they're not getting the notifications. It's weird. Dorothy says, you have blues, my favorite color. A lot of my things are blue. A lot of my guitars are blue. Okay, cool. That's why you like the blue is one of those colors. I only have one guitar that's in the blue range, and it's my Telecaster. I don't have it here right now. I don't have that many blue guitars. I did have a purple Charvel at one point, but I sold that one. I got a notification during Shane's live stream for a video I watched 24 hours ago. So it must be something wonky with YouTube and their algorithms. Maybe depending on where you're located. ZD, where are you located? ZD351. Where are you located? I'm just curious which part of the world you're at. Maybe that has something to do with it. Paul says Fender just finished an expensive survey and found out 50% of all new players are female. That's cool. That's cool. You know, doesn't really surprise me though. I mean, I never really thought it was just a male-dominated. Well, maybe I'm wrong in saying that. There are a lot more male guitar players for sure, but I think things are changing, which is good. Why not? It's just great all around when there's more guitar players out there, I think. Yeah, that's how I feel about that also. I just feel that things are overpriced. I think they're playing the pricing game. They're aiming high, and then they're hoping to get what they're going to ask for once, you know, the negotiations kick in, then the fees kick in and everything else. So I don't know. I think Reverb is making a lot of money. Dorothy says, actually, you're the only one that's right. I'm a man. My wife set my phone up so it's under her name. That's funny. And you just left it like that. That's cool. So everybody refers to you as Dorothy Jack Collins. Yeah, you should maybe update that. Unless you want to keep your alias just to stay under the radar in case you're on the lam. So Fat Philosopher says, I don't think I was charged tax when I bought from America here. In Japan from Reverb, I paid $150 on shipping though. Yeah, that's the other thing. I don't know, man. Honestly, guys, I don't know. My first choice is to deal local. And then after that, you know, Reverb, eBay maybe. Reverb might be third. And Nick is confirming what I just said. The thing with Reverb is that it's a game you list high. Yeah, and then accept offers. Yep, I guess so. It's like fishing, right, Nick? You never know. The Gospel of Mark says he sold his PRS 594 about a year ago out of desperation. Oh, man. Things are better now, and I want one back. That sucks, you know. There's a couple of things that I've sold in the past that I regret. And it's a crappy feeling, you know, when you know you had like a really good guitar, you should have held on to it. I had a G&L Legacy like when Leo was still alive, and he had started G&L, and before they got into sort of like the more mass production of their guitars made in the USA, a fantastic Strat. Paid $1,400 at the time. Was a lot of money. Honeyburst, like a honeyburst finish on it. Beautiful neck maple. Played wonderfully. Was a great guitar. So resonant. You can still see like the little holes that were drilled to put it on the machines that they used to actually build the guitars. And I think at that point they were still kind of hand building them, at least partially. Great guitar, and I ended up selling that one. I should have kept it. That one definitely is leaves a bitter taste in my mouth, and also my first electric guitar that my mom bought me, which was an Ibanez Roadstar 2. I should have kept that one for sentimental values, and it was actually a very good guitar. I kept it for a long time though. At least, you know, I kept it for a good, I'm gonna say, almost over 20 years. So there's that. So Nick in the States is got a lot of comments here. Let me catch up on those. Nick says, and the lower you buy it by more than 13%, so it sends out an alert to all watchers, and then lower it. Oh, sorry. Yeah, okay, so I get it, yeah. So basically what Nick is trying to tell you is that you list your item, you increase the price by about 13%, then you lower your price after a few days or whatever by about 13%. When you do that, Reverb will send out a notification to everyone stating that there's a price drop. So it's a way of like promoting your listing within Reverb. I get it. Makes sense. It's just like, I just feel that having to do that, like why do you even need to do that? Like Reverb should just promote the stuff by their own algorithms, so you don't necessarily have to pump up the prices. I think it would be like a more fair way of dealing with selling your stuff, you know? I don't know, maybe it's just me. Okay, so ZD or ZD351 is in Australia, so maybe that's why you're not getting your notifications quickly. Maybe your YouTube settings, maybe you haven't indicated your time zone in your YouTube settings. Maybe that's why. I'm pretty sure YouTube will use time zone settings to send out notifications to the people at the right time. I could be mistaken. Fat Philosopher says 50% of the guitars I've owned have been black because manufacturers have decided lefties love black. Yeah, I think that's a common complaint that a lot of people have. They mass produce the lefties with one boring color and everybody's kind of stuck with that. Sucks. I'm so glad I'm not a left-handed player. I really am. So the last time we were online, we had our special guest Nick. I'm gonna also have a special guest this Sunday. So for you, those of you who want to tune in for that, it's gonna be at 10 a.m. again. So that should be interesting. I decided to do the show today instead of Wednesdays just because I've been really swamped lately with other personal things happening, and I just couldn't find time to stay on schedule, but I still wanted to do a live stream. Eventually we'll also have Buddha back. If you guys caught that live stream with Buddha, that was a great show. Buddha is really a cool dude who has a really great ear for tone as well, all the way from Portugal. And you know, we're gonna probably get together again at some point. What else is new? The last couple of videos that I put online, for those of you who haven't been keeping up with the information and the videos, there's a lot of stuff coming out on YouTube right now. I just feel a lot of YouTubers are really like saturating their channel with as much content as they can, just to, I guess, drive up you know, their subscribers. I don't really feel that it works though. I feel it's kind of like there's just too much stuff at once. So I'm not really doing that, but the last couple of videos that I put online, I was talking about the Headrush FR speaker system. For those of you who are into that and you wanted to get information on that, I made that for you guys. Same by the same token, I also did a review on the NuX Mighty plug, which some of you have said is hard to get. I guess the reason for that is that the supply chain for a lot of these companies hasn't come back yet in terms of what's been going on with COVID. So not all of the distributors have them yet. But a really cool little plug, for those of you who don't know what this is, it's just a little device that you plug into your guitar and interfaces with your mobile phone, and then you're able to have a bunch of sound effects that you can play through, amp simulations, IRs. You could have a clean, an acoustic simulation, overdrive. You have about 5 or 6 settings that you can actually program to this little device. Take it with you, put it in your guitar, and you can listen to it with headphones and basically play with it wherever you go. So it's a great kind of practice tool. It's about 69 bucks around there. Not too expensive. So for those of you that have been putzing around with Bluetooth speakers and that kind of thing, it's kind of like that, except that you do have the ability to interface with an app and set up the sounds the way you want them with all the effects, reverbs, delays, modulation effects. Save them and take it with you. So it's a great way to actually have a device that you can use on the go. And then a couple of things that I have lined up. Oh, the do-it-yourself guitar. A lot of people have asked me on my channel how that's coming along. The do-it-yourself guitar is a kit that I bought from DIYguitars.net. So you guys can check them out. They have a whole bunch of guitar kits. They're in Canada also. So if you're in the States, that's a good way of saving a couple of bucks. The project's coming along quite well. When I showed it the last time, I had only applied the sanding sealer on it. Right now, I'm at the point where I brought it down to show you guys. I'm at the point where I applied the first couple of coats of lacquer. So it's coming along nice. I decided to go with red. And as you can see some of the flame there, I mean, the lighting is not very good here, but you can see some of the cool flame. And in the back of it as well, there's not really flame, but you can see the grain. It's coming along pretty good. I gotta tell you that there was a lot of issues this time with this particular one. If you guys haven't tried to build your own guitar, so building a guitar already has its own challenges, but actually painting a guitar is really an art form in itself. A lot of work went into this because I used stains that are designed to stain leather, and it works really well. I've done that before, but there's a couple of things that you guys have to keep in mind. And I'll give you some tips to some people that are thinking about doing this. Okay, first of all, if you don't have equipment, it's hard. I'm basically just doing this with the I'm doing this with cans, spray cans, because I don't have a spray gun, I don't have a booth, I don't have anything like that. I don't even have that much of a clean environment. I did this in my garage, and the thing with doing painting in your garage is that you get dust everywhere. Like, you gotta have ventilation, so you have to have air coming through, and there's a lot of dust, and that causes havoc. So this is the first guitar that I actually use a sanding sealer on. Last time I built a guitar, I didn't actually use sanding sealer. So what ends up happening is when you use lacquer, the wood really absorbs all of the lacquer, and you see the little divots in the grain. So it's never perfectly flat like a glass, like a sheet of glass. Hard to get that kind of finish if you don't use a sanding sealer. So this time I used a sanding sealer on this guy, and sanding sealers are basically just a really thick finish that absorbs into the grain and fills up the pores, so that when you spray lacquer on it, the lacquer sits on the top and really gives you a nice flat, clean finish to it. So you can sand it down, you don't go through the dye, and you can get a really nice glossy shine. So I'm not at that point yet. This is just, I think, the second coat that I did. I have a lot more to do. So there's still some orange peel and stuff that has to be sanded out with wet dry sandpaper. But the challenge was really getting the dye to look the way I wanted it. And I actually sanded through part of the sanding sealer. I went too aggressive in certain parts, so I had to patch those up. I didn't want to strip it down back to bare wood. So what I did was I left it as is. I went forward with lacquer, then I tinted the lacquer again between coats with the dye, and I made it a lot darker, and it really came out nice. So I think it's coming along quite good. As you can see, the binding is stained right now because I just stain everything, and then I basically take a razor blade and clean off all of this, which is really a pain to do. And I really have a lot of respect for people that do that work all day long. And if you're not careful, you can scrape, the wood along the binding if you're not too careful. So that's where I'm at right now. So far, so good. I also stained the headstock, so you can see the wood there. I don't know if I'm gonna stain it black in the front and leave it raw wood in the back. We'll see, but I like the grain so far. I like the grain a lot on the headstock. It's coming along nice. So the other thing about lacquer is it takes forever to get hard. You have to let it sit for like a month before it's actually dry enough to sand down and polish. If you do it too quickly, you risk going through the finish. So you really have to be patient. It's a labor of love. So I highly recommend you guys try doing that, because once you do that, you really appreciate what it takes to build a great guitar. And I still don't know if it's going to sound good at the end of it. First time I do a set neck guitar where it's glued in, it's tricky. So at the end, you put in a lot of work and effort, and if the neck is not milled right, and you might still have issues. So we'll see. But it keeps me busy, gives me something to do while I'm in quarantine. So Access 2084 says, I don't feel so bad. Eddie Van Halen created his Frankenstrat in his garage and basement, and he changed all the world with it. That's true. Look, I'm not aiming for like perfection. I don't think I'm going to be able to get perfection with the equipment that I have, but it is definitely a great learning experience. And at the end of it all, like, you really know what not to do the next time, which will get you closer. Fat Philosopher says that I wonder if the mic plug has a little too much in it. Do people really want to spend time learning how to use a headphone portable plug? Vox plug is half the price, mediocre tone, but do I need one? You know, the funny thing is, as I mentioned in the video, the manual sucks. Okay, let's be honest, guys. There's not much in the manual that tells you how to use this thing. So basically, you know, I thought it was going to be complicated. It's actually very simple. Like, honestly, if you can use an amp and you know how to use pedals, there's nothing to it. So that's the cool thing. The other thing is the portability of it. I like the portability of it. I like the fact that you can put it in your pocket, you know, and just take it with you. So, I mean, as far as pricing goes, you might think it's expensive. That's up, you know, everybody has their own opinion on that. But for me, I was actually pleasantly surprised by it. I kind of like it. You know, you like something when, you know, I was intending to give this to my son because he's learning how to play guitar, and he doesn't have an amp. And because the guitar I built or I modified for him is an electric guitar, he's been playing it unplugged in his room. So I figured this would be a good way to encourage him to practice without necessarily bothering everyone. He can just put his headphones. So, yeah. The only thing I'm not sure, actually, and that's the thing I got to check, I don't know if this actually will communicate with wireless, with Bluetooth headphones, because there's a plug in the back of it. But if you have Bluetooth headphones, I don't know if you're out of luck. I got to check. Access 2084 says everything has gone up in price and became scarce. The SE guitars I got went up by the time Nick bought his. I got my SX Castillo Les Paul for 175 and Nick paid 190 a week later. Yeah. But I don't know if that is because of the supply demand chain. Like, there's probably a lot more demand than there are products that they have in stock. So maybe that's why they jumped up the prices. I was thinking the same thing, Nick. I just didn't say it. I didn't say it. The getting hard thing that I mentioned. Yeah, I get it. So Nick says there's still deals out there. I've been struggling to resist them. Good, man. Give me a call whenever there's something you need. Call me for that support, you know. I'll talk you out of it. Fat Philosopher's been pushing the purple sparkle for the 335. The next one will be purple sparkle. I'll paint it with my my daughter's finger nail polish. How's that? Make you happy, okay? We were talking about stomp pedals at the beginning of it, and I was basically asking the question, if you had only one, which one would you take with you? And the reality is that a lot of us have a lot of stomp pedals. One that I've been playing around with recently is this one here, which is made here in good old Canada, the Rev G2. An interesting pedal. Not what I expected, actually. I expected it to be kind of tube screamery-ish, but it actually has its own thing going on. There's not a lot of coloration which is the interesting thing. It really does make the amp come through, the amp and the pickups. So an interesting option. I'm going to be doing a sound review of this coming up shortly, so stay tuned for that. And other pedals I've been meaning to review for you guys and haven't had the opportunity to do it yet, and I'm getting around to it, is this guy here. This is from NuX. This is the Jtc Drum Loop Pro, and what it does is it's basically a looper pedal. It's got drums built into it. You're able to do tap tempos and play along with it. The thing with looper pedals, and this is just me, maybe I'm wrong here, sometimes having too many options just make things complicated for nothing. Whenever there's like different options, you have to like be in this menu, do this, do that. I always get confused. Maybe I'm just dense, I don't know. But it's a couple of pedals that I've owned that are looper pedals, and I always gravitate more to the simple ones. One knob, one switch, that's it. I think the best one I've had so far, and like I haven't had too much time to play around with this one, but in terms of simplicity, I think the best one I had so far was a little mini Donner one. It's like this big. I don't even know if I still have it. I think I misplaced it. A really small one, and it's basically a copy of the TC Electronic Ditto Looper. Cheap, worked well, small, doesn't take a lot of space on your board, and it was simple. And that's what I liked about it the most, you know? So it's like, sometimes it's just like, why complicate things? Just keep it simple, you know? I don't get it. Anyway, enough of my ranting. Let's say hi to a few more people that have come in on the chat. Terry. Hey, Terry, I haven't seen you in a while, man. How's it going? Hope everything's okay with you. In the blues. Hey, Shane, how's it going, man? I watched your show just a couple of, not even an hour ago. I guess you decided to stay up. You're not going to bed yet. Good to have you here, man. So, hey, later, Nick. Thanks for dropping by, dude. Talk to you soon. I'm just jumping back on the chats that I missed while I was babbling about all that stuff there. Have any of you actually tried to build your own guitars? Because that's one of the things that I like to do. But at the end, it's very challenging because you become so attached to it, and you have such high expectations that sometimes when you're done with it, you're kind of let down because you're just like, your skills are not necessarily honed enough to do a fantastic job, and you really want it to be so good because you put your blood, sweat, and tears into it. Anybody that's done polishing on a guitar, they know what I'm talking about. I mean, to buff out this guitar, honestly, I'm just gonna explain one more thing before I put this guitar. So to buff out the lacquer on this thing, to get it to actually shine, like right now it's raw, like I haven't gotten to that point yet, it takes a lot of time. Elbow grease, you know, wet sanding it, buffing it. I don't have a buffing machine, so you have to do it all by hand. And getting into the little crevices, it's a pain, man. You know, like I mentioned, just taking care of the binding with a razor blade, it's a pain. And you could still mess it up if you don't know what you're doing. So it takes a lot of work. So far, so good. I mean, it's not bad. Worst comes to worst, I'll give it to my kids, my son, my daughter, whatever it is. But you know, it's a cool learning experience. So I highly recommend it. But I would say if you're gonna build something, start with a Strat or a Telecaster. Really easy, like a piece of cake. And if you don't really want to invest time in painting, just buy a body that's already been painted. You're going to save yourself so much headaches, I'm telling you. It's really the way to do it if you're considering doing that. Save yourself the trouble. Get used to it. Get a couple of builds under your belt, and then jump into it once you feel confident, you know. It just makes things a whole lot easier. Other than that, I wanted to talk about the the Jalen Pickups. Yeah, the Jalen Pickups. So Jalen, I reached out to Jalen Pickups to give me a set of pickups that I wanted to put into the Harley Benton, the Fusion 2. They actually came in. I'm going to get the guitar just to show you, although you know what pickups look like. So I swapped out the stock pickups in the Harley Benton and I put in the set of Jalen's raw nickel covers. That's what I love. It's so sexy. I really always opt for the raw nickel covers. These pickups, not that the original Roswell pickups weren't good. They were actually pretty good, but I just wanted something with a little bit more girth to it, a little bit of a bigger sound. I felt that the Roswells were a little bit thin, in my opinion. So he wounded a set for me, and the bridge is wound at about 9.4K using an A2 magnet, which is has a pretty sweet sound to it. And the neck pickup is wound with an A3 magnet and at about 8K. So they're not high output pickups. They're relatively, like, they're in that PAF range. So far, I've been playing around with it before I do the sound demo because I want to get familiar with it and really do an honest job of the reviewing the pickups. So far, though, I have to say, the neck pickup sounds great. Sorry, the bridge pickup sounds great. I was pointing to the wrong pickup. Bridge pickup, awesome. Neck pickup is good, sounds good. It's not like it's a bad pickup or anything. It's just, again, I really like that P90 sound out of my neck pickups. And this is a nice full sounding humbucker for the neck, but I tend to really like to have more of that open, almost Telecaster sound, which is hard to get in humbuckers. So when I do the sound demo, you'll see what I mean. But a great guy to deal with. He has listings on Reverb, so check him out. Jalen, Galin Pickups. And he also, I think you can also reach out to him on Facebook. He doesn't have a website per se, so it's a little bit hard to get a hold of, but he definitely has some pretty nice sounding pickups. So, and he could wind whatever you want. This particular set is not one of his more common sets. He wound it specifically for me. So I don't think there's a specific name for these ones, but he does have some sets that are like his standard winds. And his claim to fame is that, you know, he's winding pickups for some pretty popular guitarists, including the gentleman that's currently touring with David Lee Roth. I think I mentioned that before, which, you know, he's basically trying to emulate that Eddie Van Halen sound. And if you listen to him, he actually does a really good job of it. So, you know, if you're looking for that kind of sound, that's a cool pickup to get. The other reason why I didn't hesitate to change the pickup in that guitar is because I do have the Harley Benton Telecaster, and it has exactly the same pickup. So I didn't want to have two guitars that had exactly the same sound. So Shane says that he's, I just got done doing the time codes, so it's sleep o'clock shortly for me. Thanks, Shane. I really appreciate it, man. You're giving up your beauty sleep for me. That's a cool thing to do. Access says he wanted to buy a kit and build one. He just hasn't done it yet. I want to make a gold Strat from a kit sometimes. Maybe I'll pull the trigger on a Harley Benton kit when the health situation clears. My advice to you, free advice, take it for what it's worth. You make up your own mind. Stay away from gold. Gold is one of the hardest finishes, like a gold sparkle. If you want to get that on your guitar, go with a pre-painted guitar. It's really hard to get the finish right on gold. Like even companies that spray this stuff all the time have little defects in the paint. My gold P90 Harley Benton had the same thing. It's hard. Defects in gold is very hard to hide. So if it's your first build, don't make it a gold one. Dorothy says he's still waiting, or not Dorothy, but alias Dorothy says, I'm still waiting for my Harley Benton 450. That's the 450 kit that he's talking about. Thanks, James. Thanks for the compliment on the guitar. I'm working hard on it, man. And Access says, the only thing that's an issue with those Fusion guitars is a truss rod adjustment location. That would be a pain to get to. Actually, the opposite, man. The truss rod adjustment's at the bottom. So it's actually way easier. I really prefer the truss rod adjustments at the bottom. There's nothing in your way. And it's really easy to do. You don't strip the truss rod because you have to use like the little bar to turn it. It's way easier in my opinion. The oil finishes, like Paul suggests to do an oil finish on the guitars. Oil finishes are good. They're nice, but you're going to get the divots in the grain because you can't really do an oil finish on a guitar that's been treated with sanding sealer, I think. So you have limited options when it comes to that. But yeah, it's easy to strip down. Hey, Peter, how's it going, man? Thanks for joining us. A Rush fan. Let me guess, you're Canadian. No, maybe not. Yeah, absolutely. The gold finish is really a pain, man. If you go with a Frankenstrat build, it's actually more forgiving because it is supposed to look kind of ratty. So, you know, if you're not good at it, nobody's going to say anything. The other things I wanted to talk about was, have any of you tried Giovani Pickups? Nick mentioned that last time when we were on, and he made me laugh because they're basically, I think, Artec pickups that are kind of budget pickups. Artec, if you guys don't know, Iron Gear makes, well, actually Artec makes pickups for Iron Gear and a couple of other sellers, and they're kind of like budget pickups, but a lot of people claim that they sound pretty good, like Dragonfire or Dragonfly, I forget the name. Pickups, I think, are also made by the same company, and Giovani Pickups are also made by the same company, and some people claim that they're pretty cool. I've been trying to like see what they offer in terms of styles of pickups. Maybe eventually I'll use some in one of my builds, but I have a lot of other guitars that I've pulled the pickups out from, so I can use those in the meantime. I knew it. I knew it, Peter. I knew it. Do I know you, Peter? Maybe I know you. I'm not really sure. Anyways, Rush rocks, so I'm a fellow Rush fan as well. Yeah, one of the other things I wanted to talk about also was the guitar that I have gas for. As I mentioned, my bucket list or the chop list is going to be the Contemporary, the Bass Breaker. For pedals, I'm probably going to get rid of some of these guys because I don't really use them much. I have other pedals that kind of do that kind of sound. So the Tone City pedals are on the chopping block as well. But what I'm looking for, and kind of maybe saving my money for, is a guitar that I haven't tried in real life yet. So I'm going to show you what I'm talking about here. Let me just share my screen and see if you guys can see that. All right, so I've been eyeing these Charvel Pro Mods. They're new versions that have come out recently. They're DK24's HH caramelized maple neck. They have different colors. Of course, the Charvel colors are always a little bit weird because they always have these crazy colors. I wish they would just subdue the colors a little bit more. But the cool thing about this guitar is kind of that it kind of competes with the Surs, with the Ibanez guitars that are extremely expensive. I think the Ibanez are over $2,000. Same kind of features. Very similar to the Harley Benton also, in the sense that it has only two knobs. It has a little switch. I don't know if you can see that there, but there's a little switch right there. And the only thing it doesn't have is it doesn't have stainless steel frets. So I don't know if you can see the back. There's no back shot on it, but the back of it's quite nice as well. I like where they put the plug. The plug is kind of like a Strat style plug cap, but it's on the side of the guitar. You can't see it here. Maybe you can see it on one of the other models here. Let me pull up this guy. It's not exact. I don't like the HSH configuration because the middle pickup just gets in the way. Do these guys have a shot of the back? Yeah, there we go. So I like the way the back is configured because, as you can see here, it's got a nice carve in the heel, the access on the lower horn. You can see how the jack plate is put in at an angle so that when you put it in there, it doesn't get in your way. There's a lot of cool things that they've done right. The baked maple headstock and neck is pretty cool. The only thing I wish they would change was the colors and the fact that they don't have a Floyd, right? The Floyd for me was a real turnoff on these guitars. So not really a Strat, not really a Charvel, not really a Sur guitar, not really an Ibanez guitar, but somewhere in between. The only thing I'm not convinced of is the actual neck profile. I think it's pretty thin, and I'm not a huge fan of super thin necks, so I have to try one in person somewhere before I actually pull the trigger on it. But if I try it and it feels right, I might jump on it. Get I don't know what color to go with. There's just a few colors that they have, so the colors are always a little bit of the issue with these guys, but they're great looking guitars. So that's what I've been looking at, man. I don't know if any of you are interested in those guitars at all, but if you are, then let me know what you guys think. Peter says that he picked up a cheap $60 guitar in Kijiji to mess around with. What tools do you recommend to get started? It all depends on what you're trying to do. Are you talking about like just setting it up, or you're talking about making major modifications? Those Seymour Duncans in the Charvel. I don't know if there's Seymour Duncans. Let me check that out. I would assume that they are. Yeah. There's Seymour Duncan Alnico 2 Pros. APH 1 in the neck. And a full shred SH 10B in the bridge. And there's also a tusk nut on it, which is cool. Yeah, definitely stay away from the gold, man. I can't stress that enough. So Peter wants to clean up and level the frets, check the neck, change the nut. Now, have you done this before, Peter? Is this something that you haven't done before? Because my opinion is that if you're trying to level up the frets and it's the first time you do it, you can mess things up, man. You need the right tools. You need to know the process too. A lot of people, what they end up doing where they mess up is that they don't really know the steps to setting up the guitar. There's actually certain things you got to do in series before you actually get to the leveling the frets. If you skip those steps, you're kind of gonna be messing things up, not unknowingly. That's why I'm asking. Fat Philosopher says that he also thought the SHS configuration would be a problem, but it didn't have a problem picking on his Steinberger. It depends. I've tried a couple of guitars with the middle pickups. To me, the way I pick and where my hand falls on the position on the guitar, it was an issue. He says, Access says he's got an IYV PRS copy. Everything on it is excellent except for the tuners. I'm considering getting some Grovers for it. The Grover tuners on my Les Paul are excellent. That's I haven't checked out. Let me check out that. I never heard of that brand before. IYV. Let me just check it out on the internet here quickly here. IYV. What do I search for? I guess IYV guitars. Take a look at that. Is that something you bought on Amazon? I see them listed on Amazon. I see that they have a Telecaster version. I don't see. One second here. Oh yeah, I see it here. That's a nice looking guitar, yeah. Here, I'll put it on the screen so you guys can see it. Let's, is that the one? I think it is. That's a nice looking guitar, man. Nice finish. And not too expensive. So that's a good guitar to play around with as you get familiar with guitar playing and setting up guitars and everything. Pretty cool. I didn't know about that brand. There's a lot of great deals out there for guitars that are not necessarily too expensive, you know. Peter says, no, he's a first timer. Okay, Peter, we have to sit down and talk. If you're a first timer, definitely take it slow. I would say get a couple of books. There's great books on Amazon on guitar setups. There's a couple of them that get really good ratings. Get those books, read how to do it, and slowly build up your collection of tools. There's a lot of tools that you need, but you might not need them all at the same time. Fret jobs are probably one of the more intricate things, and it's a lot of work, and you risk really messing things up. So before you go through a fret level, make sure you understand what you're doing. It's not easy. There's a couple of videos that I've done also in my video collection. If you go back, you'll see I actually walk through the process of doing fret levels and everything like that. So check out those videos. If you still feel that you have the nerve to do it, then go ahead. Just be sure to understand that it's a risky thing to do. I would say, start off with just changing your strings, setting in intonation, adjusting the neck relief. These are things that are not risky. Like, you're not going to really damage your guitar that much, except if you go overboard with the neck relief, which you shouldn't. It should be just minor adjustments that are necessary. But neck, anything to do with frets, bring it to a pro. You'll thank me for it in the long run. The IP300 TSB. Let me check that one out. Let me see if I could find that one for you guys. I want to refer to the right one. IP300. Sometimes they won't come up for me because I'm on Amazon.ca. So I typed that model number in and it actually didn't come up for me. Let me try just Googling that. Talks amongst yourselves while I'm doing this here. I'm curious. I want to see that guitar. I don't see it. Did I type something wrong? Oh, I think I found it. Oh yeah, here it is. Nice. Oh, that was really nice, actually. Nicer than the other one too. Let me put that on the screen for you guys. So look at that. That's a sweet looking guitar, man. I like the way the body is cut. Kind of reminds me of the Santana PRS. It's got the Vines of Life inlays on that, kind of like the Ibanez. And it's got the same bridge that I have on my Harley Benton, which is a good quality bridge. Super nice looking guitar, man. Congratulations. Do you know if that that body is a laminate? It must. It probably is. That's really sweet looking. I'm telling you, I'm impressed by a lot of these guitars that are kind of budget guitars nowadays. They're doing great jobs. They're really, like, for the amount of money that you're spending, man, there's so much choice. Nice looking guitar. Neck through also. Nice. Yeah, you want to make sure if it's a neck through that you take care of it. I mean, any kind of warpage in the neck is not like a Strat where you can just swap the neck and put something else in there, right? You have to really be careful to take care of those neck through guitars. But they're great. Must have a nice sustain to it. Oh, and it's not a veneer. That's even sweeter. Good choice, man. Really nice guitar. Yeah, Paul says that that he's getting into the tools required to do his work, and there's great videos. Yeah, there really is, but until you get into it yourself, it's not exactly the same as watching videos. There's always little wrenches that get thrown in here and there when you're trying to do a setup properly. So you really have to have a couple of I was gonna say hours, but I'm not gonna say hours. Hours is not enough. I would say a couple of years of experience under your belt to handle the more serious type of repairs. Adjustments are pretty easy. Once you know the basics, it's not that hard. Everyone should learn how to adjust their guitar. But when you're getting into actual repairs where you have to like repair pieces of wood or the paint or the finish, you need special tools, which becomes very expensive if you're just doing one repair. So if it's just a one-off, don't bother. Just take it to a pro. You can get, for example, just fret files. If you buy a really like pro fret files, that's going to cost you a couple $100. Just that. That's the right approach. Start with a $60 guitar. You can't really go wrong, right? At the end of the day. So consider it like what you're paying for your education. That's how I look at it. So how long have we been talking here, guys? It's 11:30. Yeah, an hour and a half. I think we're going to wrap it up for today. We're going to save some for Sunday. We're going to have our special guest. For those of you who don't know, the special guest this Sunday is going to be Jonathan Coe. He's also a really great YouTuber. So he's a great player as well. Has a lot of experience playing. And he's going to be online with me. We're going to be talking gear. We're going to be talking great stuff. If you haven't checked out his channel already, check him out so you're familiar with what he's done in the past. And if you have any questions for him, then tune in on Sunday, 10 o'clock. That's the time for the show. We'll probably go for an hour, maybe an hour and a half. Now, Jonathan's all the way in Singapore. So basically, he's going to be 10 hours ahead of me. So it's be 10 in the morning here, 10 at night there. So we're going to try to accommodate the time change, and hopefully he won't be too tired, and we'll have a lot of great stuff to talk about. In the meantime, like I always say, if you're new around here and you haven't been watching my videos regularly, please subscribe. That way we can do this again, and you'll be notified whenever the stuff gets posted, as well as the live streams come about. If you want to support my channel, please spread the word. If you want to consider getting some swag, that also helps the channel as well. I don't get the entire amount. Some people have asked me, like, like when I sell a t-shirt or something, I get like $4 out of it. I don't get much. The bulk of the money does not come to me. It actually goes to the company that makes the stuff. So unfortunately, I get the scraps while the big companies make the money, but it still helps me get a little bit of extra dough so I can buy mics and lights and stuff that I need to put on these shows, or to pay for my account for Ecamm Live that I pay monthly to be able to do this. So anything you can do to support the channel is really appreciated, and I really like, more than anything beyond cash or anything like that, what I really do appreciate is your support and the fact that you do tune into the channel, tune into the videos, and give great comments whenever I post something. That really goes a long way and helps me stay encouraged and motivated to produce more videos for you guys. So I really appreciate that. So please don't stop. That's it for today, guys. So thank you for tuning in this Thursday. Beautiful day ahead of us, so take advantage of the day. Please remember to tune in on Sunday, right here, same channel, 10 o'clock in the morning Eastern time. In case you don't get the notifications, just jot it down on your calendar. All right, guys, that's it for now. Thank you for tuning in. See you soon. Thank you, guys. I appreciate it. Sorry, I was reading the comments. Fat Philosopher, I don't have a Patreon account. No. But I appreciate the likes. Take it easy, everyone. Bye for now.